meeting is being recorded.
Welcome, everybody, to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is December 12th, and we have a very special guest speaker tonight, Magnus Langlete from Norway. Many of you who have been on the 9/11 War Room, the Sunday weekly meetings, have seen some of Magnus's amazing library videos and pictures of 9/11. So he always has new ones, and he has new ones for us tonight. And some that if you're on the War Room, you may have seen before, but just about everything Magnus is able to dig up is new to us for the first time. So I'm very excited that Magnus has decided to join us tonight. And, just a reminder for all the participants here tonight, I'm sure you saw the Boston 9/11 Truth Guidelines about civility and staying on topic. And I do insist on that so that we keep things moving. And do not interrupt the speaker's presentation. And do you want questions, Magnus, in the middle of your presentation, or would you rather wait till the end?
We can do it both, maybe.
All right, but raise your hand. No interrupting each other. Raise your electronic hand. If you can't figure out how to raise your electronic hand, we'll be keeping an eye on your video, your thumbnail videos, or you can just put it in the chat, okay? But for ease and expediency, it's best if you can raise your electronic hand if you want to speak. And while Magnus is speaking, we will have everyone on so that he will not be interrupted by background noise, etc. All right, Magnus, welcome.
Thank you, Susan. My name is Magnus Langlete from Norway, Trondheim. I'm 32 years old, and I have birthday on October 12th, as the same date as Richard Sherrier, the commander of Emergency Command Center in World Trade Center 7, when he lived. Thank you. And I got very interested in 9/11 truth movement in 2016 of July, after I asked my friends to share some videos, because I was wondering what really happened that I can't find out on myself. So I had to watch a lot of videos over to my friends, and they gave me something to grow up on here. So I had to study over the next years. But then suddenly I collapsed because of an epileptic seizure, unexplainable seizure. So I said that I don't think it's me or here. I think it's the future. So I just had to go home and rest. So I stayed home from 2016 to 2019. And then I tried to share my 9/11 stuff on Facebook, and were accidentally blocked from doing anything from about 2019 February until late January 2020. So I were really blocked, and went on YouTube and build some towers and writing support Richard Gage. It took me 4 years to complete that project. And then I tried to collect firefighters over here and show them the evidence here and videos, and try to collect support. Because none of the people who had originally the videos here don't want to help.
Wow. But your friends turned 9/11 truth.
They turned their back away and said that we are doing nothing until the government is coming with the answer because we are here to live our lives and we are not being allowed to being lied to. So they are angry and listening to hip hop and doing very strange things that I don't see as a normal life anymore. So this theory, it's going crazy here in Norway. So I just stepped away and walked home with their videos and thought that maybe one day I will reach out here and deliver it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that effort.
Cool.
When
But
is
I have evidence. I have evidence of that Richard Gage should never have lost his job here in 2029 because I had I were concerned about MERS, the Middle East syndrome back in 2016, and thought that there is something very strange with the future that I can't figure out. So I'm going to sit home and figure it out. So I had Facebook. A very long page where I was writing about the future here and that we have to maintain the nature and don't destroy it and do all the things we're doing. And that the COVID may have been a laboratorium accident or a weapon, I don't know, but it's not normal. I would say that it was very strange when I shared all this stuff and the future just happened. So it happened for a reason.
wow.
I think I just shared it and went here. So I want to say thank you to Sandra and Jean for letting me into the war room and letting me be a part of that.
Yes, indeed. With Wouldn't know about you.
But I really have to say I'm sorry that I am really unable to share my screen here. Are anybody here to help?
uh, um, so what do you do in the war room? You just put it in the chat, right?
I just put it in the chat.
Okay. So we're gonna have to try it that way then.
Yes, I believe I have shared it and I will do it again. Playlist.
Okay.
You have to roll very fast because you have to go to the bottom if you ever are able to load it down. It's
Okay.
very strange that it didn't load to me.
All right. I might get kicked off. I'm gonna try it.
Oh, thank you. We are praying here for not being kicked out.
Okay. Hmm. It's not working. Oh,
Okay.
here we go. Just very slow.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna play all.
Uh, we have to scroll very fast down to the bottom. It's a very long list. You have to go to the bottom on that list. It's
Okay.
very long. Yeah, we just have to roll it down if we are able to see them all.
Yeah.
Strange that I were unable to go down to those videos. Hmm,
I can't do anything fast with this computer,
I
or else I'll
understand.
get kicked. I'm lucky. Right now, I'm getting a dialog box. Low system resources may affect your audio quality. Try closing some applications.
Oh,
Ouch is right. How far down do you
I
want me
think
to
you just
go?
have to roll down to the bottom.
All the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Aha. Oh, wasn't the bottom.
Uh,
Still not.
Sorry, this is my time. I got to run for that interview. You guys, you be well. Have a great time, and we'll watch the
All
recording.
right.
Thanks, Magnus.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great time.
Thank you. I'll come back if I get up early.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I think we can just start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This, if you're counting 6, okay, just play one.
Situated very close to the. Now, the fact that you want to hear directly from the city authorities. I passed one of the major hospitals 4 hours ago. They were shouting for blood donations in the street. We have an unconfirmed report of a building collapse. At times like this, you want to hear directly from the city authorities. There for the moment. We've got some news just coming in, actually, that the Salomon Brothers building in New York, right in the heart of Manhattan, has also collapsed. This does fit in with a warning from the British Foreign Office a couple of hours ago to British citizens that there is a real risk. Let me get the exact words. The British Foreign Office, the Foreign Department of the British government, said there was a strong risk of further atrocities in the United States. And it does seem as if there now is another one with the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. We've got no word yet on casualties. One assumes that the building would have been virtually deserted. Whether this latest collapse is going to influence the president, who we heard about a few moments ago, was expected to be. We've just got some pictures in from New York of the latest building to collapse. That's the Salomon Brothers. He's 7 stories tall. There you can see it going. So this happened, some 6 hours or so after the collapse of the World Trade Center. Presumably, it was so close to the World Trade Center that it had been weakened by the explosions and the collapse of those buildings.
A 47-story building just collapsed earlier today, but they were able to get people out of that building, of course, because they're worried about the structural integrity of the building, and they were right, it did collapse. So that. And now let's go back to New York and look at some pictures just in showing the Trade Center collapsing. Pictures keep coming in, despite it being, almost 10 hours now since the original attack. This is because various footage, many of it from amateurs, is being released to the television stations. And in fact, that is not the World Trade Center. I got some more information there. It is the Salomon Brothers building. So that is this evening in New York.
And it was. I wasn't in the studio, I'm sure, that day. I didn't go in. No, no. As I said, I was in the theatre in the afternoon, and then we drove straight home, and I came back for my shift the following day. That's my recollection.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that.
And I think it was about 2006. It emerged, this piece of footage emerged, actually, you and Jane Stanley. And a lot of people said, hold on a minute. In the video of Jane reporting the collapse of the building, you can actually see the Salomon Brothers building behind her.
We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city.
Well, this is all news to me. I'm surprised. It would have been later. I guess it would have been later for English time.
Oh, yeah, no, it's coming back to me, yeah, of course, because at that stage I wasn't doing the morning, I was doing the evenings on the World.
That's right.
So I went with my son to the theatre, heard it on the radio, and then went into the studio. You're quite right.
Yeah.
And I was on that night. You're
That's
quite
right.
Yeah.
Now, we think, or our interpretation of it was because this has caused such a lot of controversy. The editor of BBC World had to come out and make a public statement.
7 uur nadat de World Trade Center naar beneden viel.
Ja?
Dat is hard gewerkt. This sounds so significant. I'm just amazed I didn't know about this.
We can, I mean, if you like, we can supply you with material information about this, because I think from your perspective, it would be good, if something out, it would be good to know about this, because this is one of the anomalies of 9/11, and that event was so significant that it deserves further investigation.
Sounds potentially very interesting.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. I'm sorry I can't enlighten you. I mean, gosh, I didn't realize this is completely news to me. I don't know how it's passed me by, but it has.
Could we send you some information on it by email?
Yeah, if you like.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Because really, for your benefit.
Yeah, I'll give you a. Send it. So is there no official explanation?
No, not at all. In fact, the National Institute of Standards and Technology were due to publish a report in 2007 as to why the building collapsed, and they've had to delay it until 2009.
And what did the BBC statement say then?
BBC statement, the editor's statement, which is online, said,
I've lost the tape.
yeah, they lost the original footage.
I sense that you think there's a conspiracy here, but you might be right.
Wow. How's the sound for everybody? Could you hear that okay? Yeah? Oh, good.
Next, yeah.
This one?
No, you have to go back and never see the list, because this is something else, I think.
Let's see, where the heck is it? All right, I'm gonna stop share. And
Okay.
All right. Let's see. That's not it. Ah. All right. Looks like I have to bring this up again. I can't seem to get back to it.
Okay. But then we're playing the first video there and going to the end part, because that's a very interesting part.
Okay. Close all my other tabs so that I have hopefully better performance. Whoops. Didn't mean to close that one. Looks like this is going to be painful.
Okay.
All right, scrolling down again. So what number do I want to scroll down to?
We can't see where you are, but I think it's the second one. Are you down to the bottom or in the top?
I'm going to the bottom.
Okay, then you can just play the last one.
That's what we just played, though.
Okay, then you just go with the next, then, yeah, the video above.
Which is 9/11 Mysteries Demolition.
Yes, then we can play.
Okay.
The first 30 seconds.
Do you want me to take over, Sue, just in case your computer gets funky for that?
Good.
Yeah, let me.
Thank you, Sue.
Yep, let me see if I could do it here. Share.
Yeah, I don't know why I have problems with sharing here. I didn't have problems with my phone before, so I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that issue.
Well, good. Okay, I guess for whatever reason yours won't let me share a specific screen. It's just application windows. So hopefully you see.
All right, let me make you also co-host.
Here we go. So, Magnus, we just watched 12th December. We want to see 9/11 Mysteries,
Yeah,
the whole thing for 9 minutes.
no, just for the first part.
Okay. Open a new tab. Here we go. Oh,
Well,
And I don't know why I'm
I
telling
might
this
not have
man
shared
this
my
building is
audio.
going, but I knew it.
Hang on. We're getting there. Here we go.
And I don't know why I'm telling this man this building is going, but I knew it was not over.
I said, there's no way. That's a steel structure. That's just draperies and carpets and furniture burning. You know, there's no way. And I didn't finish my sentence when the tower started to slide. And I can still remember hearing, first of all, this boom, boom, boom explosions.
Not all were blessed with intuition or foresight. Joseph Milanowicz reached his son Greg by cell phone.
Greg at that time, I could tell by his voice, was scared. He said to me, Dad, can you get in touch with someone and tell them that there's about 20 of us on the northeast corner of the 93rd floor.
Greg had been about to leave the South Tower after the North Tower was attacked, but was told it was safer to return to his desk.
A couple of times he said, why did I listen? Why did I listen?
Who was
Thank
a
you,
director
Jean.
in the company that provided?
Then we can go to that one.
Anybody else see that jumper?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Oh.
I believe that that's the man they're calling the fallen man because that's very intense. And I read some more aluminum oxide or very strange explosions. Okay, thank you, Gene. I think we saw what we need to see about the aluminum oxide there.
Maybe before each clip, maybe you could give us a quick one sentence recap of what it is that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Specifically, because in some cases it may be obvious, but in other cases we miss it.
Okay, but did you see the aluminum oxide coming out from the tower?
Yeah, we did. But for the, I thought it was a clip about the jumpers.
Okay, it was both
like, whoa, okay, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you could just tell us quickly with each clip what it is that why it caught your attention and why you think it's important.
Yes.
So just
Here we have the molten metal.
All right.
There we have maybe World Trade Center between 7 and 5 and 6.
Now you've all seen what we're calling ground zero many times. We've seen it from a variety of angles. It is rubble and it is dust. And that, of course, raises the question of health and structures in danger.
I'm sorry?
There you see it pouring molten metal.
Ah, okay. Let me go back a little bit now that I know what I'm looking for.
Raises the question of health and structures in danger. Raises the question.
Like you're in a foundry. Like lava. The steel was coming out red in certain areas from the first couple of weeks at least.
This is how it's been since day one. Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is 6 weeks later, almost 6 weeks later. And as we get closer to the center of this, it gets hotter and hotter.
But, you know, these underground fires were just like the fires of hell.
The fires got very intense down there and actually melted beams where it was molten steel that was being dug up.
Underground, it was still so hot that molten metal dripped down the sides of the wall from Building 6.
It's this fused element of steel, molten steel and concrete and all of these things all fused by the heat into one single element.
There were fires of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit below the ground.
And almost like a chunk of lava from Kilauea or Iceland, where they're very sharp but breakable shards on the end here.
8 weeks later, we still got fires burning.
It was molten steel that was being dug up.
If you'd like to see more videos like this, please.
Thank you, Gene. That was the molten metal that needs to be investigated.
Was that Paul Cayley's Bravo 7? It looked like at least pieces of it were.
That wasn't his voice.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we can run that too, because I have so many testimonies from Leslie Robertson, where he says first that it was made to withstand that plane and that it didn't tolerate damage and fires and explosions. But this video is more powerful than those testimonies.
Yep, Craig Dave Martini, construction manager, World Trade Center.
Building was designed to have a fully loaded 707 crash into it. That was the largest plane at the time. I believe that the building probably could sustain multiple impacts of jetliners because this structure is like the mosquito netting on your screen door, this intense grid, and the jet plane is just a pencil puncturing that screen netting. It really does nothing to the screen netting. The building was designed.
Then you can go to the video above here. I think it's the foreknowledge, maybe December 12, 2024. Very
That's
low,
cool.
that one. I would
Oh,
take that.
which one?
Just take that one. Thank you.
Okay.
There were Deborah Palfrey were saying that she thought that she had the information that were very important to the 9/11 Commission. So she had these call girls that she thought were very important here. Have you heard about Deborah Palfrey before?
I did, but I didn't follow this rabbit trail on this one. Yeah, the DC
Okay.
Madam.
Okay, I think she's very important because that's very great foreknowledge, I would say. Palfrey told Wayne Madsen, I have information that would have been a great interest to the 9/11 Commission. There is information that they have her call girls. Yeah, that would have been important for the 9/11 Commission to know, having to do with intelligence they picked up about 9/11 before it happened.
Wow.
And she committed suicide after a show with Alex Jones, where he asked she would not commit suicide, and then she just did anyway. So she's a very strange woman. So that should be investigated one more time.
Yeah, that last little statement there. In 2016, U.S. Supreme Court rejected a bid to release her phone records despite claims they were very relevant to the presidential election.
Wow.
2016 between Trump and Hillary, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got some gold nuggets in here.
Is Wayne Madsen still active?
I'm not sure. I'm still looking at that part.
All right.
Then you can go to that one, yes.
Which one?
I think you have your hand on it right there. Yes, that's December 12. Yeah.
Well, that one we
Yeah,
just played.
that's what we just played. Yeah.
No, they are both the same name.
Okay.
I didn't rename it. I didn't have
Right,
time.
I think. Okay. Never mind.
Just tell me. Yeah.
All right, this is Michael Hess. This is the video because we have Michael Hess trapped inside 7 World Trade Center for about an hour and a half, and that the DVD, his newscast at City Hall started around 11:35, while they were saying that he were rescued outside from the building a little over 12, and that it started around 12:35, an hour later. So it doesn't make sense to me. So it's a huge cover up here with that DVD starting 11:35 at least.
Huh.
So that's Michael Hess. An hour later than it was, because they're saying Michael Hess and Barry Jennings were trapped for 3 hours in that building, but it's originally an hour and a half from 9:30 to 11.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff.
I'm not catching.
Okay, I'm going to take it one more time. Michael Hess and Barry Jennings were rescued outside from 7 World Trade Center 11 a.m. At that morning, and he was taken to City Hall and did an interview. But NIST are saying that that interview started 12:35 when it originally started 12:35. So they're saying he was trapped for 3 hours instead of an hour and a half in Building 7.
Okay, and why is that important?
Because the explosions happened much earlier. They were trapped 9:30 in the morning, and not when the North Tower came down.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that the explosion they were experiencing in the morning were claimed to be the South Tower they heard, but they didn't hear it. They experienced it. They were blown up and had to climb back up to the 8th floor and were trapped. So the timeline for that explosion in the report doesn't make sense because
Gotcha.
it
Yeah, and I'm good
happened.
now. I got it.
All right. Give me a number.
December 12th. It's about. It's.
We looked at both of them.
Are you sure?
Yep, this one was the Madam, DC
Right.
Madam.
Okay. Then you have to go to. Is there any name Osama there? Maybe you have to go a little more above.
Okay.
One more December
There's
12th.
Osama.
Thank you.
There's a
Osama, yes. Thank you. Take Osama.
Here we go.
Okay, Osama bin Laden's hard drive had movies and video games that claims that he had at least those 4 Super Mario games that I were talking about earlier on his hard drive. So I'm assuming that the government and Osama bin Laden knew about the Koopas Towers and Dino Hatton, who is, it's the Lower Manhattan. Dino Hatton is the Mushroom Kingdom and the dinosaur land, but they are using the World Trade Center. So it's the same 3 buildings that went down there as here. It's the same story. So I believe that the government knows about that attack and Osama bin Laden knows about it. So it's going to look like it's a copy of Koopas Towers, I would say 9/11 is. It's a controlled demolition, obviously.
Wow.
So they found these games. So yeah, these games and videos on Osama bin Laden's hard drive. All right, thank you for showing us the video of that.
Yep.
Now that's presumably when he was killed, are you saying? That's when they took in Pakistan?
Yeah, they took it in 2011. That's the raid and the hard drive.
Yeah, except I don't believe that was Osama bin Laden. I think he was already dead.
Okay, you believe that? Yes. Okay, I understand. But that's the key thing. They have a hard drive with those things that I have 9/11 from without even look at it. I was so interested in that. I am not in controlled demolition expert or anything. I haven't seen much demolitions. But when you are grown up with Larry's Castle #7, then you know exactly how a controlled demolition looks like when you're seeing it. And Larry's Castle 7 is, by the way, World Trade Center 7. I'm going to show it to you very soon.
Mm-hmm.
The 10 hidden details about 9/11 you never knew, Gene. That's the video we're going to see now. And then you have to
September
go
11th attacks changed.
You have to go forward until we are watching the Shanksville. Yeah, you can just play it here. Go
Here?
back.
Go back?
I believe so. I play it from here. Thank you.
By a plane collapsed so cleanly. The official report was released years later, but for many, it did little to settle the mystery. United Airlines Flight 93 crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers heroically fought back against the hijackers. The official story is that the passengers forced the plane down. But, some witnesses claim they saw military jets in the area just before the crash, leading to theories that the plane may have been shot down to prevent further destruction. The government has denied this, but the events of that day remain a point of contention for some.
Thank you, Gene. That was
Several
from
individuals.
Flight 93. I haven't seen that part of Flight 93 until yesterday. They claim that that picture we just saw is the other part, 8 miles away from where the other crater is.
Yep. I'm
Have you
looking
seen
for
that
that
before?
second crater.
Okay. Then we have to go above all these videos. Let me see. We can go more above here. There's a lot of me videos. Sorry about that. You have to go a little more. Oh, there we have. Have you seen Niels Harrit here talking about the long issue where there are carbon tubes on the first responders? We can listen to him.
Because now I want to turn to the health aspects of the World Trade Center dust, which we all know that it was not very healthy to be a first responder or a worker during the cleanup operation. And it took actually 3 months at least to put out this fire. I call it the longest smoking gun in history. And to walk around there without breathing protection surely could not be very healthy. And there are numerous accounts of this. The number of responders has been discussed. What I've seen in the medical journal, and the estimate is between 60 to 70,000 of people were exposed to the dust for an extended period of time. And come on, yes. And last year there were published a paper in Experimental Health Perspectives by a group of doctors from the Mount Sinai Medical School in Manhattan, prestigious science, and they looked into the lung tissue on World Trade Center responders, and we should see what they found. The picture to the left here is from a lung tissue, and they found some thread-like tubular structures in 4 out of 7 patients which were ill, in numbers ranging from 11,000 to 230,000 per gram wet tissue. This is the same material which they found also in the World Trade Center dust, which is moving around here somewhere. And this is a sample of carbon nanotubes, which is shown. It's a completely independent sample, which is shown for comparison. So now I'm introducing a new nanotechnology concept, carbon nanotubes. What are they? Well, they are tubes made of carbon, but they are very, very, very small. These pictures taken again from another presentation have this space bar here, I think is 100 nanometers. Maybe this close up is better. Well, I cannot read actually what is that, but they're very, very small. They're made of they can be single-walled carbon nanotubes, and they can be multiple-walled carbon nanotubes. They're very, very strong. They're hundreds of times stronger than spiderweb. They're so strong, they're actually a serious project going out that you can connect the Earth with a space station via a ladder composed of carbon nanotubes. So you can actually climb 300 kilometers out in space and back again, and some kind of vehicle should go up in it. Very, very strong. These are hot items in nanotechnology because they have a whole range of electrical, chemical, and mechanical properties which are very desirable. And we go back to these findings in the nanotubes in the World Trade Center lung tissue. The control group here were 14 construction workers in old cases. The Mount Sinai, they can go back to into their tissue bank and pull out as many patients as they want, diagnosed with asbestos fibrosis, and which meaning these are construction workers which has been exposed to building dust for extended so long time that they actually got too much asbestos, and also 20 healthy non-construction workers. None of them showed the occurrence of carbon nanotubes in the lung tissue. Formation of carbon nanotubes requires 3 conditions must be fulfilled. You must have very high temperatures, and you must have a source of carbon atoms, which means an organic chemical present, and you must have a metal catalyst, among which iron happens to be one of the best besides cobalt. And so this triggered the thought in some of us, well, this means that ignition of the nanothermite should be ideal circumstances for formation of nanotubes. It has taken us some time actually to get together and do this experiment, but Kevin Ryan just showed you in his backyard how he ignited the nanothermite he had produced himself. And he sent it to me a couple of weeks ago, and it is here. So this is the residue from Kevin's, together with his kind letter.
This is from the Toronto hearings, by the way, if anybody hasn't recognized
yeah,
that.
just give it to the panelists so they know that. No, let me show it to the audience here. So this is the residue. Kevin, he took. You remember he came in. He took the beaker and you saw down into it. Yes. He left it cooling a little bit. He put it into a letter and sent it to me. It is here. And what I did then is to take a little sample out of this, pouring a few milliliters of alcohol, ethanol, onto it, making a slush in a mortar, actually, letting the particles, all the metal particles, all the heavy particles precipitate. And then you take a little drop of the supernatant liquid, you put them onto a copper grid, which the panelists can also see here, they're very, very small. And you let the ethanol evaporate. You put them into a transmission electron microscope, and this is what you see. And that's it. I made 4 samples. They are all here. This is sample number 1. And you see exactly the same structures here, and there's no other explanation for this. This is again sample 2 here. What you can do, luckily we can do energy dispersive spectroscopy very locally on this sample, taking on this bend here. I know it's hard to see. I haven't had time to do good plots. So let me tell you, what you see here is carbon only, and then you see copper, but this is because they're lying on a copper grid. So this is background, nothing else. Most importantly, we do not see any fluorine, because the plastic that Kevin used for making this preparation contains fluorine, meaning that this is not plastic threads. There's nothing else but carbon in it. This is another sample, very, very dilute sample. This is an overview of the copper grid, actually, because we only applied half a drop onto the copper grid. And the items here are this one. This is a close-up of one of them. Across here is about 1/1000th of a millimeter. These are the dimensions of these chips. This I like in particular, the one here to the left, because it's a very unstable, I think. I shouldn't have put in a new battery. So this is the perfect dimensions of carbon nanotube. This is carbon nanotube. I wouldn't come up with this if I didn't believe what I was saying. This is carbon nanotubes. Again, we're doing energy dispersive spectroscopy. This time we also see aluminum oxide, which is not unexpected. It's probably all over, but we have to look closer into that. But it is definitely not aluminum oxide which is making on these structures. Aluminum oxide cannot do that. Most important is that there is no fluorine, and that is about it. This is a picture from the patients, the Mount Sinai study. This is what we find as a product of the nanothermite reaction. And please remember that none of the control group showed this feature. So if you ask, couldn't the nanotubes come from somewhere else? It's true, it is formed combustion of diesel and in much smaller amount, and in oxygen start fires. But the control group have been living a normal life, except that they actually caught asbestos fibers, and none of them showed carbon nanotubes in their lungs.
Thank you, Gene.
Wow.
Yeah, I did ask Ted Walter, because he's very familiar with the Toronto hearings, if they had screen captures of the slides, and nobody has pictures of the slides, unfortunately, because I would have compiled a whole new movie of the Toronto hearings so that we could all see the slides, but they don't have them, unfortunately.
Mm.
All right, give me
And you
an...
can go on the, are you able to go to the top of the list?
Oh boy, okay.
All right, then you can go to the Mayor Giuliani at the top, the first video of Rudy Giuliani.
Don't worry about
And
number
go to the
7.
ending.
Hey, that's where he has his command center.
And what?
You go to the ending point, almost the ending. More. Thank you.
Building in New York City, as well as evacuation routes. Hurricanes and heat waves would be handled here, as well as terrorist attacks. Shortly after the bombing of the World Trade Center, New York City scrapped its existing emergency plans and began writing new ones. A couple of years later, following the bombing of the Federal Building in Oklahoma City, Congress passed a law calling for 120 of the nation's largest cities to be prepared for terrorist attacks.
I think New York City is very ready, very prepared.
Though New York officials say their facility is not impenetrable, they're confident it could handle even the worst crisis imaginable.
The United Nations and the streets of this city.
Can you go to the ending at that video?
All right.
Around there, I think it's more to the ending. Thank you. There, around.
Things that we're concerned about to make sure they're safe for rescue workers and to see what we can do to
They are worried about the day after. Building 5, there was worried about there, and it says that structural engineers will look into the buildings tomorrow.
salvage these buildings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you can ask your last question. Go ahead. Go ahead. He's been trying. He's been trying for a while.
Maybe we can go 2 seconds backward.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
What we can do to salvage these buildings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you can ask your last question. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I think. No, I think. No, I don't think so. Not from the last time we had a briefing, and we were down there and.
5 World Trade Center, I heard, was in some kind of trouble. What's the status of 5 World Trade?
I don't know.
Still, they're going to wait for daylight to get engineers to take a look at all these buildings.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to wait till the daylight tomorrow. We'll have building and structural engineers check all these buildings that we're concerned about to make sure they're safe for rescue workers and to see what we can do to salvage these buildings.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Jim. So there he says that he is going to check out these buildings, but they are still worried about them. Here, if you're going to the building Fort Knoll under Rumsfeld there.
Rumsfeld. This one?
Under him. There we go. Thank you for doing all this, Gene. I didn't know about this issue.
You're welcome. Where are we going?
Just play it from the beginning.
A possibility this could be some kind of inside job.
There have been conflicting reports. On the one hand, we've been told today by several people, including New York City Mayor Giuliani, and very recently, I think one of the senators said, look, we had no idea this was coming. On the other hand, there have been repeated reports in recent weeks, and I would say over, let's say, the last 6 weeks, that some terrorist somewhere was planning something because, among other things, a part of the U.S. fleet was put to sea in the Mediterranean. The Marines were withdrawn from an exercise in Jordan. And indeed, there were calls from officials in intelligence agencies, which I don't feel free to talk about the details, but to journalists even, saying, look, something is up, but if you know how we came to this information, please don't talk about it. Now, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, it's contrasted with these reports today. Well, we had no idea this was coming. Try to sort this out for our viewers.
Well, this is what was obviously a well-coordinated and very large conspiracy.
Dateline New York City, from where we're broadcasting, there are reports now that 2 more buildings at the World Trade Center complex, 2 more buildings of the World Trade Center complex are burning and are in danger of collapsing now.
Tell them to come back.
The fire is said to be in buildings 7 and 5. Buildings 7 and 5 of the World Trade Center. This morning, Trade Center towers 1 and 2 were hit by airplanes and then collapsed. For those of you familiar with Lower Manhattan.
10 seconds forward.
How many?
Maybe you can go 10 seconds forward. Just go a little forward there.
Complex. There are a total, well, I should say the World Trade Center. 2 of those, the 2 towers, are gone.
Maybe you can just play the area.
Obliterated. Now, buildings 7 and 5 are said to be burning and in danger of collapsing. Mayor Giuliani referred to this a little earlier, in fact, quite a bit earlier in the day, but he did not identify the buildings. You are watching continuing CBS News coverage of the attack on America. Back at CBS News World headquarters in New York with the far-flung worldwide resources of CBS News covering an unprecedented day in American history. No one has claimed responsibility for these bombings. This is the scene in Lower Manhattan as the following continues. The 2 towers of the World Trade Center are down, destroyed, completely collapsed in separate avalanches, 1 then 2, of steel and concrete. Now, the World Trade Center complex includes 7 buildings. 2 other buildings in the World Trade Center complex just a short while ago were reported to still be in flames and in danger of collapsing.
And then suddenly I'm looking at the building collapsing like paper.
Yeah.
And you know, that's really frightening me at that point.
Excuse me, Russ Mitchell. Please forgive me for interrupting, but apparently another building in the World Trade Center complex has just collapsed downtown. This is a live photograph of yet another building. Keep in mind that the World Trade Center complex, check me as I go here, please, sir, has 7 buildings total. Has the 2 towers, they're gone.
Yes.
Now, we reported some time ago that 2 other buildings in the World Trade Center complex were in danger of collapsing. One of those buildings has collapsed. There is an unconfirmed report that is building 5, but we do not know that. Other sources are apparently reporting this building 5 in the complex, but we do not know that. What you are looking, these are live pictures here. We've mixed live and tape, tried to make it clear to you throughout the day what's live, what's videotape. This is live tape, and you can tell it's at least another building collapsed because the density and the amount and frankly, the altitude of the smoke has increased so dramatically in that area. Keep in mind, and we've said this before, we say it again, what you're seeing are high shots. Now, here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself.
Describe that.
Now we go to videotape, the collapse of this building.
It's amazing.
Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the 3rd time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
Good.
Can you go 5 minutes forward until we see Scott here, another reporter here. There we go. This guy. Thank you.
Dan, we were literally at the base of building number 7 about an hour or so ago with a number of New York City firefighters and police officers. At that time, the building was fully involved in flame. There were large panes of glass crashing down into the street. And at that moment, the firefighters told us that there was a good chance that building number 7 was going to collapse. That appears to be what has happened now. I don't know exactly how many stories stories the building is, Dan, but standing at the base of it, watching it burn about an hour ago, it looked to be something on the order of 50, 60 stories, as you said, a very, very large office building. And I don't know whether they were able to evacuate all of the emergency personnel before the collapse, but I can tell you that an hour ago there were a number of firefighters and police officers in the area. They were watching building number 7 burn because there was frankly nothing they could do about it. The inferno was huge. So much of the building was collapsing into the street bit by bit that they were unable to do anything with it. And now it seems that building number 7 has finally collapsed, at least the third building to fall in the World Trade Center today.
Scott.
Yep.
And then I have a few short videos below that one here. World Trade Center, that one. Yeah, 7, that one. Thank you.
Plane hitting the Pentagon, 2 planes hitting the World Trade Center's towers in New York. Alan Dobbs-Frank joins us on the phone in Lower Manhattan. Alan?
Alan, just 2 or 3 minutes ago, there was yet another collapse or explosion. I'm now out of sight. A Good Samaritan has taken me in on Duane Street. But at 11:15, there was another collapse or explosion following the 10:30 collapse of the second tower. And a firefighter who rushed by us estimated that 50 stories went down. The street filled with smoke. It was like a forest fire roaring down a canyon. Now, as I think Patty Sabga and others have told you.
Thank you. That's the one we are going to see.
This one too?
Yeah.
I have a report perhaps of another building here in New York that has collapsed. CNN producer Rose Arce is on the phone. Rose, what can you tell us?
Yes, there's another building very close to the World Trade Center that was hit by debris some time ago, and it appears to be on the verge of collapse. Also, that enormous plume of smoke that you see that's surrounding the...
Perez, the Israeli foreign minister, a long time Israeli leader in any number of governments, joining us from Jerusalem tonight, where it is a little bit after 11 o'clock, about 10 minutes after 11. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7, in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing. And you, to be honest, can see these pictures a little bit more clearly than I. But building number 7, one of the buildings in this.
All right.
That's the foreknowledge of building 7, yes. And that's, yeah, that one, yes, with the fire there.
As we discussed earlier, the problem that they have, of course, is when can they go in to search for survivors and yet still not put the rescuers themselves, many of whom, no doubt, from earlier this morning are casualties of the first events of the day, not put those rescue workers into danger themselves. So that is obviously the problem. We were told by a couple of people that were in there before rescue workers that there are bodies, a number of bodies lying around in the debris and on the street there. Obviously, part of the job will be to bring them out. We are also told by Port Authority officials that the building over there, which is building number 7, which you can see, it is referred to as building number 7. It's about, I would say probably a 20-story building, that there is some concern on the part of Port Authority officials about the stability of that building at this point. So obviously, as we have been discussing all day, a very, very difficult circumstance.
But Peter, there is a new concern, according to authorities, at this moment here in Lower Manhattan, and that is the growing fear that another building in the World Trade Center complex, which was not struck by an airplane, is in danger of collapsing. That is number 7 World Trade Center, somewhat shorter, with somewhat fewer stories than numbers 1 and 2.
Form or another. Let's go to NBC's Dan Abrams now.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Dan, what do you have for us? Dan Abrams, are you there?
Tom, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am here. Okay. As you can see, Tom, behind me, the smoke still billowing from the area where the Trade Center was. There's still concern about a building right there where there is a fire still going, and the police here still concerned that that building, too, may be in jeopardy. They continue to push the crowds back. A block, another block, another block. They remain concerned that that building could fall as well. They're concerned about the way the wind has been moving. I'm joined now by Sergeant Moses Cruz from the New York City Police Department, who was there during both of
thank you,
the
Gene.
buildings falling. Described
That's
first
also
of all what you
foreknowledge about Building 7. Next one.
This would be Ashley Banfield.
Yeah.
Ashley Banfield is on the phone with us again from Lower Manhattan with more on what is still burning there. Ashley?
Brian, I can no longer hear you, but I just want to reiterate for you, if we can zoom in past me, that building right there, the brown building, the tall one, is number 7 World Trade Center. I've heard several reports from several different officers now that that is the building that is going to go down next. In fact, one officer told me they're just waiting for that to come down at this point, that there's no way it's going to be recovered and there's no way that they can stabilize it. The building that is directly south of it is number 6 World Trade Center. It apparently, in fact, you were just told by police.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, ABC World Trade Center 7 collapse discussion, that one. It's very important, Peter Jennings.
Creating a far greater explosive potential without having had to have explosives on board and getting them past U.S. security, either at Dulles Airport or at Boston. 266 people on the aircraft alone today who have died in this attack on the United States and on the American people. Now, in our control room, somebody says there is a... Let me go first to Bill Blakemore and then perhaps to Joe Torres of WABC, our affiliate in New York. Bill Blakemore, you there? And I gather you saw number 7 come down.
Yes, I did, Peter. I'm standing right on the West Side Highway. The skyline of the financial district has changed again. Just a few minutes ago, I was talking to some people. I was facing north. I saw shock in their face, heard screams, spun around, and then we just watched the building fall in on itself. I believe we have a little bit of tape here. That's, Peter, it was an astonishing thing because the civilians who were standing around here were all amazed, but things have become so bizarre down here that the hundreds of firemen who were standing around looked at it, felt a bit shocked, but then just said, well, we're going to have even more work to do. Associate producer Lucy Kerrigan had been over near that building just a little bit earlier, and the policeman had told her that they feared the building was going to come down, that they were evacuating people from around it. So that's one little bit of good news, is that there may have been fewer casualties from this latest collapse than there otherwise might have been because they knew of the potential. But it's now still a very hot day here. The search and rescue operation is mounting even larger. There are dozens and dozens of fire trucks backed up on the West Side Highway, police trucks. There are what look like hundreds of volunteers who have showed up, who have been marshaled by the Red Cross, all with masks to avoid breathing in dust, but nobody can go in yet. We're still looking at buildings that are on fire down in the center of the financial district, and it's clearly a great deal of devastation. It's not too strong a word at all. It's going to take a while even to assess how bad it is.
Bill, do you have any idea whether or not other buildings in the immediate area are vulnerable at the moment, whether there's concern about any other building as there was about this additional one after the towers?
Well, from the angle I'm looking at, we can see one other building still on fire, and it seems to be on fire through the length of it. I would estimate that's like about a 30 or 40 story building. The problem for any one of us, of course, is that because of the other buildings down here still standing, which are so tall, you can't get a very clean view of the whole thing from the ground. But there's at least one, and it's clearly going to go on into the night. There's a lot of black smoke pouring out of that building now.
Thank you, Bill. We just stay with this photograph for this graphic for just a second. Well, no, there's number 7 coming down. When you think that part of the component of news coverage around the country every year is the excitement and the fun that people get watching an old building being demolished, and they wire it very carefully for days, and it's a very careful operation in order to make sure that a building comes down safely. I think the last one we saw was when they brought down one of the old casinos in Las Vegas. I mean, this is just stunning to see these things come down inside. In the case of the North and South
thank you, Gene.
Towers there of the World Trade.
Mm-hmm.
That was Peter Jennings saying it looked like a controlled demolition like the casinos.
Yep.
Hotel. 7 World Trade Center, yes, the middle under Jane.
Where?
Right under Jane, yes.
To get you more information on this as it becomes available. Also, subway service. All the letter lines are running. The number 7 subway line also running. By the way, only emergency vehicles are being allowed into Manhattan.
And this just into 7 World Trade Center, which is the building that is there burning now. We are getting reports that it might have collapsed. It is the building that has been on fire all day long, and we are getting reports that it might have collapsed. Joining us on the phone now is Scott Mezzo. Scott was actually on the 81st floor at the World Trade Center when this tragedy happened this morning. Scott, are you with us?
I am.
Scott, tell us where you were and what you saw.
I was in One World Trade Center. I was on the 81st floor, the south side of the building. A little before 9, we heard an explosion.
Scott, let me interrupt. You are watching Building 7 at the World Trade Center collapse. That is the collapse of Building 7 at the World Trade Center. Vince Dementri was within a block or two of that just a short time ago, did get out of the way, and told us the firefighters had not been able to fight that fire because
That's
Um,
also foreknowledge while it happened. Might have collapsed, and then it just happens. Right under that video, right under Jane there. Yes, thank you.
Again, they were able to get everybody out of that building before it collapsed. So I don't know whether it was accomplished by demolition experts or whether it just happened as a consequence of what occurred earlier today.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, we can take a little bit of Jeff Rossen there.
Frossen, Lower Manhattan, has an update for us. Jeff.
And Roz, last time we spoke, there was a collapse, a building collapse. We understand now it was World Trade Center, building number 7. We were being evacuated live on television, and we want to let you know, first of all, everyone in our crew is okay. Everyone in the area here is okay. You can look at our live truck. That's where we had to abandon it just down the street as we broadcast these live pictures. And beyond that, you can see the smoke billowing. Certainly there was smoke before because that building was on fire, but since the collapse, we could literally see the smoke, the dark cloud of smoke and dust coming down the corridor of buildings down Church Street toward us. At that very same moment, police started evacuating everybody, and this is where we all are right now. Evacuated back here to Duane Street at Church, and you can see all these people were about a block up with us, but when that building collapsed, you heard another tremble, kind of like this morning when those 2 planes went into it and then the subsequent building collapses. This sounded a lot like that, and then all of a sudden we looked over and we saw the smoke coming at us. Right now we can tell you that the paramedics, the fire officials, all emergency workers trying to do a head count, trying to figure out if everyone inside that building fighting that fire is okay.
Yeah, multiple
I
eyewitnesses.
have one
said-
more of that.
Yeah, multiple eyewitnesses said there was a rumble in the ground before the buildings fell. This one?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I mean, you can tell in the distance that there were times when I couldn't see a block ahead of us. This is Duane, that's Reed right over there. I couldn't even see beyond Reed at some points tonight, but now we can. The smoke certainly going down because all day long we were watching World Trade number 7 burn, and obviously that collapsed, and police and fire officials say they have that now under control. So the smoke has dwindled a bit, but it's still not gone, and that dust keeps on getting kicked up with the wind.
And again, just to clarify, you are saying that the fires are out.
That's what the firefighters are telling us, that they have those fires under control now. It's a matter of going through that rubble.
Of the city. Now, one of the things that
Yeah,
we've
100 days later. This one too?
Yeah.
witnessed within the last hour was the collapse of tower number 7, which is part of the World Trade Center complex as well. As you know, Aaron, because you've been reporting this all day, this has been on fire most of the day. This was expected to happen.
47 stories, not nearly as big as the 2 towers which once stood behind us, but no small building with 47 stories.
Now, from what we're hearing on the street, rescue workers are still having a very difficult time getting into the perimeter area surrounding this site because of falling debris. City officials still cannot confirm for us at this point how many people have been injured, how many people have been killed. Just before I got on the
All right.
I have some more before I have to see it down there. Maybe you can roll down a little bit. Yeah, 7 World Trade Center destroyed before the North Tower hit. That's one.
Underneath the area, so you wouldn't expect broken windows like that.
It's inside 7 World Trade Center very early on. It's I have actually filmed Ted Walters' presentation from AE.
There's more damage inside of 7. Now, nothing should be inside the building. Just at 10. World Trade Center, the south building had already collapsed, not the north building. So this is
Yeah, the South Tower had collapsed, but not the North Tower. So this is far away from the building. So all this stuff shouldn't really be inside of 7 World Trade Centers. That's from AE 9/11 through Ted Walter himself. And that's the model I saw where debris didn't go through the facade.
All right.
Maybe we can go to another one then. Richard Sherrier, locating command center on World Trade Center 7. He says the military came there. We don't have to see the video, but he's saying clearly that the military came there. Everybody came there. It was the most technological center when he became director there.
Yep.
And then Donald Rumsfeld says he don't know about the building.
Yeah.
So we know about that one. Maybe we
Yep.
can go a little more down there. I have a model I want to see down there. Oh, please, sorry, Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani, the above.
This one?
Just above, one video above. Thank you, that one. There we go. Because Rudy Giuliani referred to this a little earlier, remember.
Okay.
What do you want?
Oop.
How can we help you? And he said, just tell these people to get out of here. Tell them to go north. Tell the cops. I said, what do you need the police to do? He said, we need the police to secure the area and get the people out of here. Because I think what he was thinking was, this is going to be a day-long operation. And the more the people hung around, the harder it was going to be to get the ambulances in, to get the fire trucks in. The other thing he was thinking was the way the debris was falling, it was harming more of the people to the south and west. Maybe the wind, maybe the way it was the building, but the debris that was falling down didn't seem to be falling to the north. It seemed to be falling to the west and the south. And you could see people getting hit by it, probably getting killed by it. I don't know that we can accurately figure out how many people were killed before the building came down and how many were killed before by the things coming off the building.
Did it occur to you at all at that time that these buildings might actually collapse?
Yeah, but not the way they did. It occurred to all of us that they would ultimately collapse over the way buildings usually collapse, which is in stages. It looked like at some point the top of the building had come off, and then maybe the middle of the building, and then maybe there'd be a shell left, and the way number 7 came down, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, over a period of time. But the idea that it would the implosion that took place, I actually didn't realize that until much later, because when that happened, I was in the police department command post, so I didn't see it. I heard it. I saw the result of it. The building started shaking and the desk started shaking. But I don't think I really envisioned how it happened until I saw it on television, many hours later, and it was a shock to see it just implode that way.
Well,
thank you. That's an implosion. So the next through the video.
This one then, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
And we were in a building in which we were trapped for about 10, 15 minutes.
Are you talking about did you go immediately to the Office of Emergency Management?
No, I went down to the scene and we set up headquarters at 75 Barclay Street, which was right there with the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the head of emergency management. And we were operating out of there when we were told that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. and it did collapse before we could actually get out of the building. So we were trapped in the building for 10, 15 minutes and finally found an exit and got out, walked north, and took a lot of people with us.
You reported to Peter Jennings that on 9/11 that the World Trade, the towers were going to collapse, and excuse me, no steel structure in history has ever collapsed due to a fire. How come the people in the buildings weren't notified, and who else knew about this, and how do you sleep at night?
Ma'am, I didn't know that the towers were going to collapse.
You reported to Peter Jennings? No.
You said on Peter Jennings on ABC
and
video,
also,
you indeed said that the towers, you were notified the towers were going to collapse while you were in some, not sure exactly where you were prior to, but you said on ABC video with Peter Jennings in an interview that you were aware that towers were going to collapse in advance. We'd like to know who told you the towers were going to collapse in advance, sir, and also we'd like to know who else you told.
Well, the fact is that I didn't realize the towers would collapse. I never realized that. If I can complete the sentence, if you give me the courtesy to complete the sentence, our understanding was that over a long period of time, the way other buildings collapse, the towers could collapse, meaning over a 7, 8, 9, 10-hour period. No one that I knew of had any idea that they would implode. That was a complete surprise. Thank you.
Thank you all. Do you have any comments about World Trade Center number 7? 26 minutes to collapse before it actually went down.
Yep.
The explosion, then we all have heard that he says that there was no gas explosions, and they turned off the gas. So there is no explosion after the first plane hit or the second plane hit, I mean, he says. Yeah, why was the Rudy Giuliani Command Center a truck?
The police commissioner pointed to an emergency truck that was pulling up to in front of 70 Barclay Street, and he said, that will be our command post. We're attaching hard lines into this building, and we're taking over this building. And they were literally taking people out of 75 Barclay Street, and I'm setting up a command post. And I said, is that going to be our main command post? And he said, yes, that'll be our command post. We'll operate out of there. We've evacuated 7 World Trade Center.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's very interesting thing that it's a truck there. And there I have something I've all heard of before. Leslie Robertson says that it's a big sand pile and molten metal.
Yes.
And then we have Chief Daniel Negro. I think you can go a little, I think you have to roll down because I have some interesting things down there. Let me say stop when we are there. Okay, go to Kevin McPadden. That's where I found it to be Larry's Castle 7.
Conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th.
Yeah, it was like there was a whole lot of commotion. The firefighters were picking up and they were starting to roll out and go follow these buses that went downtown. And the Red Cross rep was like, he goes over and he says, well, you got to stay behind this line because they're thinking about bringing the building down. They didn't say what building. They just said bringing a building down. So we're like, okay, you know, we'll take their word for it. You know, we'll stay behind the line. And he went over and he talked to one of the, through all the commotion, he goes over and he asked one of the Red Cross or one of the firefighters what was going on. I guess, I don't know if he got an answer or not. He came back over with his hand over the radio and what sounded like a countdown. And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off and you heard 3, 2, 1. And he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions. Like, boom! It has like a distinct sound. It's not like when compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was a boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something. That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my mind. And by that time, we're running out into the street. Half the people had taken off, running up the street, and then everybody's running into the center of the street. Meanwhile, everybody that was south of that intersection was running up the street, getting chased by this cloud of smoke, which was monstrous. And they were just, people were getting knocked over, trampled on, and, you know, like I was asking myself, do I run into the dust and run down there to maybe try to help those people that were on the buses? Or do I try to help the people right here? Or do I just try to cover my own ass and take off and try to, you know, seek cover and hide? And I did the best that I could in the intersection right there, picking a few people up. And then I took off and ran and seek cover for myself.
And that was Building 7 falling?
That was Building 7 that fell. Yes.
All right, the next video, just let it go after that.
Oh, whoops, there we go.
All right, this is Larry's Castle 7, the building next to Kupas Towers, and it looks like that one. Thank you. So I have 7 ways to destroy Larry's Castle 7, and fire is not included. If you're going fast through the building, we don't have to sit, just go to the ending here. I have to say something. There it is. Very early on, it's been swept under the rug, something that Richard Gage said live when he talked about Building 7. So I believe that also happened. And the next video is actually the smartest thing to do is to pull it. So we have 7 ways to destroy that building, and fire is not included. And there you go to Ramon Ginsans under there. Yes, thank you.
Wait,
See, under Larry's Castle 7, Ramon, below. It's over Ramon Ginsans.
Oh.
There it is. Thank you.
Channel interviews structural engineer Ramon Gilsans, who points out the obvious crimp and even speaks of the implosion.
Engineers are not just focusing on the Twin Towers. The most disturbing structural event was not that the Twin Towers fell, but that Tower 7, ignited by flying debris, fell due to fire alone.
Building 7 was a steel frame building, and is the first steel frame building that has collapsed due to fire. The failure of the building was an implosion, so it failed completely different than Towers 1 and 2, in which the floors failed first.
Thank you. That's that. You can just skip that video because it's just Larry. Oh, watch the ending, please. Just go to the ending. That's the building. Maybe the smartest thing to do is to pull it. And before that, it was Larry and the molten lava. So in the reality is, why wasn't Larry in the Building 7 when it came down? He was maybe he was home. So that's very strange to me. So the next video.
I just got to ask a question because I never really understood why you have a lot of ties to Mario. Are you saying that there were like messages in the game?
Oh yeah, they couldn't, listen up now, they couldn't make Kupas Towers in reality like a fantasy tower, so they used the World Trade Center, and there you see Larry's World Trade Center 7 goes down just like Larry's Castle 7 in this game. So there are always the same 3 towers.
Was this game released before 9/11?
Yeah, it's released in 1992, 1991, and then the movie came in 1993, and then everybody said, oh my God, that's the most terrible Mario film we ever saw, because they couldn't make a real Kupas Castle. They used the Twin Towers, and then it comes down like they do in 9/11. And then we find these Super Mario games in Osama bin Laden's hard drive, as I said earlier. So if you're going down to the model, oh, there we have the real World Trade Center drawings, Richard Gage, over the, it stands real World Trade Center 7 drawings.
30 of these, because the shop drawings show 30 of these shear studs on the drawings, but NIST omits this. They say they weren't there. So we call this fraud in the scientific method. When we see it, we call a spade a spade. And let's see, do we have, let's just say that happened. The girder could have been somehow magically pushed off of its seat. Could it have fallen off of this column? Well, no. That seat connection is 12 inches wide. The girder would have had to have been pushed all 12 inches off. But NIST says no, it only had to be pushed halfway off of its seat. Because at which point this flange, the bottom horizontal piece of the beam, folded when it got halfway off of its seat, because the web.
Thank you. They were, yeah, that couldn't have happened in reality. So the NIST model is it's just crap what NIST came up with, because the shear studs should have been in the model.
Yep.
We can go a little forward or down. Let me see. More. Here we have the lava. The lava. There, thank you. That's ground zero versus
Oh,
lava.
wait a second. There's an image I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pools of molten lava.
Jeez.
Can we verify? This would be huge. Yeah, I need to save this image. Hang on one
Oh yeah,
second.
the full image too. I can resend a better quality for you later.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab one right now, just real quick.
All right, cool.
Okay, thank you. All right. See what else you got here.
Yeah, it's just real lava from a volcano.
Okay.
I'm
curious about.
And maybe you can go a little forward down here. There we go. The North Tower.
10:28. The North Tower collapses in just 11 seconds. This time, Tower 7 takes a direct hit from the collapsing building.
And there it goes. So that's the movie and the game, that it was always a Larry Castle 7 and those towers. So I believe that
It's not like
that everybody should know that, because that scene was a hell to make for the film teams. They had to work day and night, and the government was here, and everybody knows about that. Super Mario scene had to be deleted after 9/11 to the respect for the victims. So everybody should know Larry's Castle 7 next year, that it's always the same buildings with the molten lava. And that's very sad thing that so many people died and got so sick and have no real answer about what happened. It's a very sad thing when you are looking at NIST under the Kupas Towers there. That's a very interesting video, if we do have time. I don't know how long time I do have left here.
Yeah, you want to take another 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, I have more videos under Kupas Towers here than in Sagement. You see it above there.
Where?
Over World Trade Center steel wreckage at over Astani, Asl.
Okay, there we go.
I think it's the ending of that video. Because that's where it says the steel was intact, and that it's an initial part of the collapse when they were deformed and not after the collapse.
This piece, as you can see, has been burned. You can see the smoke and the fire effect on it. You can see some fireproofing, but really not much of it is left. So you can see that when the building was burning, there was no fireproofing left.
The lack of fireproofing meant that the steel was extremely vulnerable to the heat from the kerosene. But what has intrigued investigators above all is that it may have had a disastrous effect on one support.
Here, yes.
Exactly the same thing to Professor Astenay.
You cannot bend the steel like this without cracking it, unless you warm it up. So what this piece tells me is that this piece was very hot when the floor collapsed and bent it. So that must have been the initiation of collapse of this World Trade Center tower.
Thank you. So it was not caused by any fire. It was caused when it collapsed and not due to long exposure in the debris pile. Maybe you can go a little more forward because I want to show you my model down here. I say stop when we are there.
You certainly do have a lot of videos.
Yeah, it's a lot of videos. It's a huge package here. I can resend to everybody who wants that list. Here we have wait, Gene, don't go anywhere now. We don't have to watch the videos, but I'm going to say that there are lots of cover-ups between Silly Cove and there are a lot of men here that we won't come into the bottom line of here. So I had to collect everything here and spend some money to the lawyers committee so we can get somewhere because we can't get stuck with all these theories.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to go somewhere. Can you roll down now?
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have my model down here somewhere. You see, all these men on this list have something to cover up on 9/11. Oh, wait a minute. Shyam Sunder, World Trade Center 7 under, yeah, that one.
We knew from the beginning of our study that understanding what happened to Building 7 on 9/11 would be difficult. It did not fit any textbook example of that you could readily point to and say, yes, that's why the buildings fell. More carefully, we
That's the video.
first looked at whether the columns may have had fuel because of the lot of diesel fuel that was stored in the building, and we quickly, based on some calculations, figured out the fires that had to have been there for a very long time from the diesel fuel to actually bring this building down. And therefore, we then had to look further. And as we dug into it, we figured out that there was a phenomenon that we had not previously recognized in current practice, the issue of thermal expansion, which actually could cause this particular problem to happen. But that insight, we didn't have that insight till early last year, early part of 2007.
Smoke, but also.
Thank you. I think I have one more last video here. My model should be right under here, Gene, somewhere.
Before we do the next one,
yeah.
Chris Bergier has his hand raised. Did you want to wait till the end? No?
Well, I just wanted to address one of the pictures that he showed me there.
Okay.
Let me do a screen share here. Can I do a screen share?
Yeah, there's.
Okay. Share. This photo right here. Can everyone see that photo?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I want you to show me the molten lava on this photo. I see 300 people all walking around.
if there was molten metal, surely these people wouldn't been given permission to just walk over the rubble pile. And also they have like oxygen hoses, and I just I think that photo you showed me of molten lava, molten metal, I just don't believe that's a genuine photo. And then my second question is that has anyone in the truth movement ever identified the names of those two firemen that claimed that they saw the molten metal? Because I thought that the firemen were given special permission. Well, they were not allowed to talk about anything that they witnessed. Otherwise they would be fired. But for some reason, these firemen were able to talk, and I don't even know the names of these two firemen. Has these firemen ever come forward later and identify themselves?
Chief Phil Ravullo, and I just happen to know that Captain, I don't even know if I should say this, but Captain Raul Angulo just talked to him, tried to talk to him, and answered the phone and said, "Hi, Phil Ravullo." He said, "Yes." And Raul introduced himself and let him know what he was talking about, and Mr. Ravullo hung up on him. And he left a message, and we're hoping to hear back from him.
So you try to identify one of those firemen, but he doesn't want to come forward again?
Yeah, it was the famous video. It's like lava going down the channel rails. That guy is Chief Captain Ravullo, and we know.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at this photo, Gene, I mean, I don't see any lava going down any channel. I see.
In this image, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of. I see fuming in the center. Yep. And I just see all these people. I just don't buy. I mean, why would the firemen let all these other firemen come up on the rubble pile?
Yeah.
If there was pools of molten lava all over the place, and
well, can I interject?
Yeah, Sue. Yeah.
This photo that you have here, it looks like there's a pit and smoke coming out of the pit. So I'm thinking that the molten steel is obscured by this picture because it's below the pit.
Yeah, but I just don't buy that there would have been one molten pit of lava. Okay, there would have been molten pits of lava all over the place, and there would have been.
Why would it have been all over the place if there was a center of destruction underneath the buildings?
We're talking about thermite being used, and then pools of molten lava all over the place.
About what produced the core structure.
These people are walking on top of rubble, which means they're 20 or 30 feet above the old ground level, and the lava is a liquid, so it would blow to the lowest point, which would be way down below ground level.
This picture,
but it's still, well, hold on.
This picture is only showing like 1/10 of the entire site. So
but everything would have been hot. Everything you're saying there's a concentrated nuclear explosion at the very center, and someone got some good pictures of some molten lava. But I would say it would be dispersed all over. That there would be molten all over the place, and all these beams were hot.
Everybody's boots were melting, Chris.
Yeah.
There was testimony that the firemen's boots were melting, and I recall.
They could have been disintegrating, but if their boots were melting, wouldn't their feet be really hot, Al, and they'd be extremely uncomfortable? I think I think there was an effect. I believe that there was an effect on the materials of their boots, and their boots were disintegrating, but it doesn't necessarily mean the boots were hot. If the boots were very hot, I don't think if any of this rubble pile was hot, nobody be walking on it. So that what we're looking at is a very cold rubber pile, a pile of rubble that's extremely cold, just as you would have in a natural building. If that building had collapsed naturally, this is exactly what you had. And I believe that the perpetrators wanted to simulate that. They didn't want to have a big hot rubble pile. And I mean that's my take. So
I could give a list. There's 30 eyewitnesses that witnessed molten metal. Even Leslie Robertson, I saw a little trickle of steel flowing like a river.
Wow.
We're getting sidetracked. I got to get to bed, and Magnus has got to finish.
Oh yeah, no. Well, let me just respond real quickly. So things could have gone into started to glow and went into a spontaneous glowing situation if they were being transmuted by a nuclear process with the elements as an effect from the directed energy weapon. So there were things that were glowing. There were Cheetos, but I don't think it was hot. And not everything that glows has to be hot. I just think it was going through a process. So that just to answer your question, people could have seen things glowing, but that's different from molten heat, Gene. So I just want to address.
They squirted fire hoses on it when they were taking it out, and it burst into steam, even a fire hose.
Yeah, I just don't buy that, Jack. That's not hot. All these people are walking on something that is ambient temperature, right? And
you can walk around in a steel mill. You can walk around in a glass plant where the stuff they're working on is 2,000 plus degrees.
That's correct. But these guys would not have been given permission to walk on that site if a lot of the steel was 2,000 degrees. They could have severely been injured, and they wouldn't have been given permission. I've actually walked through steel mills. I've come close to a big ladle, and I stand far away. I was in a Brazilian steel mill. And I didn't come closer than like 40 foot from that steel ladle because of just all the heat coming off. You could see the glowing steel ladle. So for safety precautions, I just don't buy that this is hot. So okay, you guys can have your opinion. I have mine.
Be that as it may.
I don't mean to interrupt, but it's 8:34, and I got to go to bed.
Yeah, I'll stop screen sharing. So.
You said you have your model to wrap us out here, Magnus. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so. Oh, yeah, went. Oh, yes, there it is. 7 World Trade Center, the blue thing there. You see it right here.
All right, here we go.
There is my model next to there. So the top 50. Yeah, the roof line went down exactly the same time as the building went down, and that's not possible with office fire is not the cause of that collapse. And the truck drivers were complaining about the hot girders were still cracking and split open the truck, so they couldn't do the job 100%. So there was molten metal in those trucks when they removed the material from World Trade Center 7 in the debris video I have later. I hope I'm getting one more chance later, Susan, where I have my computer. I can do a better presentation.
All right. Well, we're booked up till mid-February.
All right, then I have good time.
All right. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me here at all. I'm so deeply sorry about those issues with my phone here. I can't share what I want to share. That's terrible.
Computer issues, and very grateful again to Gene stepping in and helping out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully I can correct my computer issues so that you don't have to keep doing this for us.
All good.
Very, very grateful. All right. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thanks, Magnus.
Thanks, Magnus.
Thank you, Magnus.
I hope it was okay. Even